Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So a few days ago, actor Jean Marsh sadly passed away at the age of 90. She was best known for her role of Rosebud in the 1970s ITV series Upstairs Downstairs. She also co-created and co-wrote the series with Eileen Atkins, John Hawksworth, John Whitney, Alfred Schnorsney and Faye Weldon, and later played Rosebud again for the 2010 continuation of the series. But to us Doctor Who fans, she's remembered for playing quite a few roles throughout the show's history. She played Lady Joanna, or Joan, which is her character's correct historical name, in The Crusade, and she played Morgaine in Battlefield. She was even briefly married to the third Doctor himself, John Pertwee, in the 1950s. But her most notable Who role was as the temporary companion Sara Kingdom for much of the Daleks' master plan. In our timeline, Sara would last for just 9 episodes. From episode 4, The Traitors, to episode 12, The Destruction of Time, of the aforementioned story. But what if things had gone differently? What if, in an alternate timeline, Jean Marsh had played the character on screen for a bit longer? What if Sara Kingdom had stayed on as a full-time companion? I should start this off by saying that the chances Sara Kingdom would have ever become a full-time companion are pretty slim, really. During the Daleks' Master Plan's production, the show's then producer John Wiles and script editor Donald Tosh did briefly consider having the character stay on for longer. But they quickly reconsidered and had her character die at the end of the story instead. Jean Marsh herself would later state in an interview for the story's loose canon reconstruction in 2003 that even if she had been asked to stay on as a character for longer, she wouldn't have done it, and she herself never even considered the character to have been a companion anyway, despite how the BBC and fans have since regarded her. So the only way that Sara Kingdom could have become a true proper companion, as it were, would be this. Wiles and Tosh never reconsidered the idea of whether the character should stay on, and Marsh is more open to playing her for a longer period of time. This then means that Sara Kingdom isn't aged to death by the Time Destructor at the end of the Daleks' master plan. Maybe she waits in a TARDIS along with Stephen whilst the Doctor carries the device, intending to detonate it. But she and Stephen still rush out to his aid when they see him struggling due to the device's aging effects. They then dispose of the Time Destructor and help him back to the TARDIS. Now, I can't imagine Sara's presence affecting the Massacre's storyline too much. She'd probably just be with Stephen for most of the story, and just like him, unintentionally get caught up in all the religious tension between the Huguenot Protestants and Catholic authorities. Obviously, since she would still be alive, Stephen wouldn't use her death to confront the Doctor about how violent and tragic travelling with him would be. But he'd still have enough reason to confront him about it anyway, due to the deaths of Brett Vian and Katerina, as well as the assumed death of Anne Chaplet during the course of the massacre. Stephen then storms out in disgust of the Doctor's attitude, with Sara probably following him. Perhaps she's the one to convince Stephen to give the Doctor another chance, if for no other reason than to hopefully get back to his own time one day. So Stephen and Sara return to the TARDIS, and Stephen reluctantly makes his peace with the Doctor. This would arguably work better than his rather rushed return to the TARDIS that we got in our timeline. The second half of the arc would have to be rewritten, as I don't think it would be good to just have Sara suddenly catch a cold, which then leads to the Monoids rising up against the human Guardians, like what happened with Dodo. Instead, I think it would be good if, during their first visit to the Ark in the first 2 episodes, the Doctor, Stephen and Sara plant the idea of the Monoids being given greater freedoms among the Guardians. The Guardians eventually acquiesce and start to install a system where both them and the Monoids share the mundane, menial work that has to be done throughout the Ark. And then, when they unexpectedly return to the Ark 700 years later, when it has nearly reached Refuses 2, they discover that one of the Monoids has convinced his kind to stage a rebellion against the Guardians and have them as essentially slaves. This would give the story a much more interesting moral dilemma. Whilst the Doctor and Co did the right thing to encourage the Guardians to grant the monoids more freedom, they didn't realise that one of them would abuse this and stage a rebellion to completely reverse the situation. I don't know if this would go over too well with some audiences, but it's the best I could come up with. At the end, maybe Sarah decides to stay on the Ark to help smooth things over between the Guardians and Monoids, as well as help them set up their new life on Refusis 2, alongside the Invisible Refusians. I'm going to have a leave here, as whilst Jean Marsh's schedule wasn't too busy at the time, she was still a fairly in-demand actor, and we need to focus on her starring role in the ITV series The Informer that was around that time, as well as her appearances in The Saints. Some of them were also around then. And also, given Marsh's reluctance to play the character for longer in our timeline, it's probably best to not have her play Sara for too long. It feels a bit more realistic that way. Maybe during the Celestial Toymaker, Dodo is introduced as someone who's trapped in a Toymaker's domain. She's still from then contemporary Earth and the same character that we all know, but she got challenged to a game by the Toymaker, which she lost, and was then stuck in his land, until the Doctor and Stephen rescue her and take her with them in the TARDIS. Dodo's runner's companion is then pretty much the same, just with one less story of course, so she still leaves in the War Machines, and Stephen still leaves at the end of the Savages. I personally would have quite liked it if this timeline had come true. I think Sara Kingdom could have made for a great companion, even if she'd had just a bit more screen time. But the fact that she was only in the show for the majority of one story, and yet still left an undeniable impression on viewers and fans, speaks a lot to Jean Marsh's ability as an actor, as do her other roles in Doctor Who's history. She may have only ever been a guest star or temporary regular at most, but when I watch the stories she appeared in, she instantly captures my attention as a viewer and delivers some terrific performances. No wonder that Big Finish would later have her play Sara or Sara again for a few audios for the Companion Chronicles and Early Adventures Rangers. She was a truly brilliant actress, and while she might be gone now, she will certainly never be forgotten by anyone who watched even just a tiny amount of her work. But anyway, so there's my take on what if Sara Kingdom stayed on as a full-time companion. What do you think? Did you agree with my take on it or not? And would you have done anything differently? Please let me know in the comments section below. As much as I never knew Jean Marsh personally, I hope this video serves as a suitable enough tribute to her contribution to Doctor Who, and her legacy as an actor. But anyway, thanks for watching, I hope you liked it. Please don't forget to press that subscribe button below, as well as press the bell icon on the side of it, so that you'll stay notified of when all my new videos come out. And I shall see you all in another video. So, until next time, bye bye!